Once upon a time, there was a tiny, shiny elf, Elfie. He worked in Santa's workshop as one of the newest recruits. Although Elfie had the most trivial job at the workshop, he was to wrap all of the toys in colorful gift wrapping, he was actually quite happy with his position. He was given the job by the chief of elves, because no one besides from Elfie wanted to be gift wrappers. What a boring duty, they would say. The other elves in general disliked Elfie. They thought that he was absent-minded and annoying. What they didn't know was that Elfie was about to become the most caring elf of them all. Elfie didn't really care about the other elves' perception of him. He did not want their jobs, even though the job titles were nice. There was the governor of teddy bears with a master's degree in stuffing. Alongside with him were nurses who had gotten extended educations as to stitch the teddy parts as painless as possible.
Elfie was as content as an elf could be. He loved wrapping gifts. He loved every single part of it. Oh, the joy! The second he saw the beautiful shiny colors, Elfie felt like they were dancing around him, and he completely lost track of time. The other elves were so annoyed by Elfie's untidiness that they refused to work alongside with him. Elfie was therefore compelled only to work at the shop at night. Elfie was quick to accept the terms, but very unsatisfied with one particular discovery. When Elfie saw the way the broken toys were being treated, he was almost frightened to death. Once in a blue moon, it unfortunately happened that the otherwise talented elves would forget a dinosaur leg or a teddy bear's puffy tail. In that case, the toys were to be thrown out. They were thrown in this big pile next to the assembly line, and Elfie was not happy about it. An elf must not touch the misfitted toys, the cardinal rule in Santa's workshop.
It was a few nights before Christmas Eve, and Elfie saw the pile of misfitted toys increasing. He started to worry about the kids who did not receive any toys. The case was that if the children didn't have an address, Santa couldn't find them, let alone park his sleigh. Elfie immediately thought of a great idea. He would wrap the misfitted toys and give it to all of the children without homes. As he was wrapping the last toy, the chief of elves walked in. He was completely furious. Soon the chief of elves had gathered the council, and they were to determine his punishment. Elfie was so confused. He thought that the whole point of being an elf was helping each other. The council had determined a punishment. Elfie was to be banished. He would be refused access to the workshop and was to live out in the freezing North Pole with the guardian polar bears.
The same night, the story went from elf to elf. It spread out to the whole workshop, and at last it reached Santa's secretary elf. The situation was so serious that he had to wake Santa up from his deep sleep. Santa dreamt of milk and cookies, and of course Mrs. Claus. The secretary knocked on his door, and when the elf had told Santa what had happened, he rushed down to save Elfie. Of course the rules were there to obtain peace and happiness, but breaking the rule would actually do the exact same thing. Santa opened the door to the workshop, and just as they were about to push Elfie out the doorway, Santa yelled, "Stop!" They were all shaking by his presence. They let go of Elfie, and once Santa had explained the goodness of Elfie's deed, they apologized to him. He forgave them, and Santa rewarded Elfie with a title as fancy as any of the others. From that day forward, he was called Executive Manager of Misfitted Toys. He still got to see the dancing gift-wrapping paper, but now that the elves saw his good deed, they respected him, and they lived together in peace and happiness, just like Santa wanted.
Setting. The story takes place in the past at Santa's workshop. It's a working-class environment, and regarding lifestyles and values were presented to traditional ones. The setting creates an atmosphere of Christmas and cheer, although the main character experiences conflicts due to this environment.
Shh. Characterization. Elfie is a... Ønsket. Oh. Nå, skal jeg bare sådan...
Yeah.
Characterization. Elfie is compassionate about his work. He is the most caring elf of them all. Elfie is kind-hearted and he sees all the good things. He may be a bit naive because he's distracted by his job and he doesn't realize that it affects the other elves in a bad way. We hear in the text, Elfie was so confused. He thought that the whole point of being an elf was helping others. The other elves can't understand that Elfie does not share the same values as them. He is a newly trained elf, so he comes with a fresh perspective of how Santa's workshop is supposed to be.
Type of narrator. It is a third-person narrator. The narrator is anonymous and does not take part in the story. So, the narrator is omniscient. The narrator jumps in time and tells the story from both Elfie's point of view and Santa's point of view. For example, when we are introduced to Elfie and his job at Santa's, we are told how much he loves it and how he feels about it. So, the narrator is in Elfie's mind. In the end of the story, the narrator is in Santa's mind.
Theme. The theme in the story is Christmas. Otherwise, there is implied themes. For an example perspective, the other elves are taking the misfitted toys for granted, but Elfie sees an opportunity in the toys.